My childhood best friend confessed to me about 3 years ago, but I turned him down and thought he pushed those feelings into a grave, so I didn't expect him to hate my new boyfriend so much that he confessed he was still in love with me. I've known my best friend Kevin, 19M, since I, 18F, was 5 years old. He is a great friend and a great guy. I've never felt anything but friendship toward him and, if anything, I consider him to be like a brother to me. I'm not attracted to him physically and have always treated him platonically. I have always kept the affection to a strictly friends level, occasional hugs and whatnot, nothing more, because I don't want to send him confusing signals. When we were in high school, Kevin asked me to be his girlfriend and confessed to always having feelings for me. I was 15 and he was 16. I explained that I only saw him as a friend and my feelings were not going to change. I have always been certain of this. After a period of awkwardness, he let it go and we became close friends again, like nothing happened. He also asked me to his senior prom, but to avoid causing confusion, I said no, and he went with someone else instead. I have told him more than once that we are just friends, and I am not looking for anything more from him. I'm not a very emotional person and have very limited dating experience, but about 6 months ago I met a guy named Mark, 20M. I was instantly attracted to him. We discovered that we complement one another very well and started dating about a month after we met. Mark is my first serious boyfriend. He makes me very happy, and even though it's early in the relationship, I am excited to see where it leads, and he is very warm and understanding. I had never really felt a spark toward a guy until I met Mark. I waited a little while to introduce Kevin to Mark, because I was afraid of Kevin's reaction. Whenever I went on a date in high school, Kevin would get really jealous, so I stopped talking about guys with him altogether. But I wanted Kevin and Mark to meet because I want them both in my life, and I hoped if he saw me happy, Kevin would finally get over whatever feelings he had for me. I told Mark that Kevin had his feelings for me, but I assured him that I did not feel the same way, and he trusted my word. We all went out together. Kevin, myself, Mark, and a couple of other friends, after Mark and I became official, and it was just as I feared. Kevin hated Mark from the first moment they met. Mark tried his hardest to be friendly, and to engage Kevin in conversation, but Kevin was rude and standoffish the whole time. Even our other friends thought he was taking it too far. I had hoped he would at least give Mark a chance, since Mark was making an effort, but Kevin wasn't having it. Mark was upset, but I told him I would speak to Kevin about his behavior. I asked Kevin to try and be a little nicer to Mark, or at least meet him halfway, and Kevin promised to try. Kevin didn't really try. He continued to treat Mark like he didn't exist, and would only invite me to hang out, but not Mark. One night, about a week ago, a group of us were out bowling, and Mark overheard Kevin saying some very rude things about him to one of our other friends. Mark confronted him, and things got heated. No punches were thrown, but I took Mark and we left shortly after. Mark apologized for making a scene, but I texted Kevin after we got home and I told him that I didn't appreciate how he was treating my boyfriend, and if he didn't stop, I wasn't going to hang out with him anymore. Kevin asked me to meet with him the next day, alone, so we could talk about it. I met him at a coffee place, and he basically told me that he couldn't believe I was picking Mark over him. He ranted about how he'd always been there for me, how he's been by my side for years, waiting for me to feel the same way he does, and I basically stepped all over him for some random guy I've only known for half a year. He then told me what I've always suspected and dreaded: he's been in love with me for years and can't stand to see me with someone else. I calmly reiterated that I have only ever considered him a friend, and have told him that before, and then he went off on a big tirade about how insensitive I am, parading my boyfriend around in front of him. He got really emotional and said that Mark will never understand me like he does, and I'm shallow and selfish for refusing to give him a chance to change my mind. And he accused me of leading him on all these years. I apologized to Kevin for leading him on. I really don't think I did, but if he felt that way, it was unintentional on my end, and told him that he would not be able to change my mind, because I'm with Mark, and even if I wasn't, that doesn't mean I would date him. He was pretty livid, and said that I can't have both him and Mark, and I would have to choose my friendship with him or my relationship with Mark. Then he stormed out of the coffee shop. It was the angriest I've ever seen him. Kevin was always a really sweet guy, but whenever Mark is around or mentioned, he just gets really mad. I've had a few days to think about this. I don't want to give up my relationship with Mark. The relationship is young, but I'm happy, and we exchanged the love word about a month ago. I haven't known him nearly as long as I've known Kevin, but my feelings for him are strong, and I don't want to give them up. I told Mark about Kevin's ultimatum, and he was angry about it. He said I shouldn't have to choose, and told me he thinks Kevin is being totally irrational. I hoped Kevin would cool down, but he hasn't texted me since we met up, except one message that said, "You make up your mind yet?" I've been friends with Kevin for 13 years and I don't want to throw our friendship away. He's never acted this irrational before. However, I know if we stay friends, he might not be able to get over his feelings, and I don't want to give him any false hope about us ending up together someday. I also think he's being a total jerkbot about everything. I'm going to pick Mark. I don't have any qualms about it. I know I need to cut Kevin out of my life. Mark would never make me choose like this, and I don't even recognize Kevin anymore from the way he's acting. But what do I say to Kevin? I'm worried about him, and don't want to hurt him any more than I already have. I feel terrible about everything and hate that Mark got tied up in all this drama, because he didn't even do anything. Kevin was really angry when we met up to talk, and I don't even know if I should meet with him again in person, especially alone. How do I end a 13-year friendship? Any advice? Commenter: I've known my male best friend for years and years too. No attraction on either side. Purely friends. When I bring boyfriends round, you know what he does. Nothing. And I mean nothing out of the ordinary. He's as friendly to them as he is me, laughs and jokes with them, asks after them when he next sees me. That's how a true platonic friendship is. Kevin is just waiting around for you and it's never going to happen. Ditch him and go be happy with your new boyfriend. You won't be losing a friend, you'll be losing a creep who's in love with you and can't accept you're not in love with him. Update 1. I knew the choice I was going to make before I made the post, but it was really gratifying, in a way, to see so many people support that decision, and give some insight. I really appreciate it. So many of you were very helpful. Some things I did not go into detail about in the original post is my social life/friendships. I did mention I am not an emotional person, but what I probably should have said is that I don't easily form emotional attachments to people and have difficulty interacting with others. I don't want to go into details, but my parents played a big role in that. Kevin is the only consistent friend I've ever had. My social life has improved considerably over the past couple of years, and especially in the months since I've been dating Mark. I've learned to open up to people more and I am much happier, but for a while, when I was younger, Kevin was all I had. That's why it was so hard to come to the decision to cut him from my life. Anyway, about 4 days after I made the post, I texted Kevin and told him to meet me at the same coffee place we met at before so we could talk. I was scared to meet with him alone, so I brought Mark. It might not have been the best. Update 2. After my first update, I got a lot of supportive comments, which I greatly appreciate. I also got a few nasty PMs calling me some pretty colorful names. Fortunately, I've seen every episode of Game of Thrones, so I am desensitized to profane language and insults. On the other hand, the nice messages were lovely to read and I am grateful for the feedback. I'm sorry that I didn't reply to most, but it's been a busy couple of months. Someone also linked my op and the first update to a different subreddit. I checked it out after someone mentioned it in the comments, or a PM, and I was surprised to see my post there. But it did offer me some insight to look through the comments there, as well as the comments on my posts here. After my last post, Mark and I went to Germany and stayed there from June until the last week of July. Once his family issues were resolved, we spent a lot of time together and I got to know his family. They were very welcoming, which was a huge relief, as I tend to come off a little cold when meeting people. We got along well, and it was a very enjoyable trip. His parents want us to come back for the holidays, so that's now in our plans. Mark and I have been together less than a year, but the trip strengthened our relationship and reaffirmed that I want to be with him. While I was away, I had almost no contact with friends from home, other than occasional messages. I had no contact whatsoever with Kevin. I didn't ask any of our friends about him, and they didn't tell me anything. Even after I returned home, I did not inquire after him or communicate with him in any way, and most of my friends knew not to bring him up, and I assumed they did the same with Kevin in regards to me. If I knew he would be at a social gathering, I did not attend. I've been planning to move to a new city, for education/career purposes, since last year, and I've been scoping out places to live and employment opportunities for a while now. With help from a few friends I have in the area, those plans have come into fruition. Mark and I have discussed it extensively and he decided to make the move with me. His whole family is in Germany, and he doesn't have any strong connections to our current city. We've lined up an apartment together, Mark has a couple of interviews, I have my ducks in a row, and we will be moving in about a week. I'm so excited to begin this new chapter of my life with Mark, and I am confident in the future for both of us as individuals and together. This past weekend, a few of our friends threw a goodbye party for me and Mark at one of our favorite local hangouts. Though many of them were aware of the whole Kevin fiasco, he was invited to the event without my knowledge. I nearly panicked when he walked in the door. He asked me if we could talk. He seemed very calm, so I consented. We stayed in the party area because I didn't want to be alone with him. Well, Reddit, he apologized for everything he said, for badmouthing me to our mutual friends, for the ultimatum, for being a total jerk to Mark, and for not listening to me when I rejected him the first time. He said that going no contact was the best thing for him, because it helped him put everything in perspective. Then he said, and I'm not even kidding, I didn't realize I was being a nice guy TM. I forgave him, no waterworks or fanfare. I also apologized to him for possibly giving him mixed signals, as it was never my intention, and he said that after he had time to think about it, he realized that he had been ignoring my feelings and he should have respected my wishes in the first place. And we both agreed that our friendship could survive, but we would never be best friends again. We are going to be friendly, but he's going to be a few hundred miles. Update 2. After my first update, I got a lot of supportive comments, which I greatly appreciate. I also got a few nasty PMs calling me some pretty colorful names. Fortunately, I've seen every episode of Game of Thrones, so I am desensitized to profane language and insults. On the other hand, the nice messages were lovely to read and I am grateful for the feedback. I'm sorry that I didn't reply to most, but it's been a busy couple of months. Someone also linked my op and the first update to a different subreddit. I checked it out after someone mentioned it in the comments, or a PM, and I was surprised to see my post there. But it did offer me some insight to look through the comments there, as well as the comments on my posts here. After my last post, Mark and I went to Germany and stayed there from June until the last week of July. Once his family issues were resolved, we spent a lot of time together and I got to know his family. They were very welcoming, which was a huge relief, as I tend to come off a little cold when meeting people. We got along well, and it was a very enjoyable trip. His parents want us to come back for the holidays, so that's now in our plans. Mark and I have been together less than a year, but the trip strengthened our relationship and reaffirmed that I want to be with him. While I was away, I had almost no contact with friends from home, other than occasional messages. I had no contact whatsoever with Kevin. I didn't ask any of our friends about him, and they didn't tell me anything. Even after I returned home, I did not inquire after him or communicate with him in any way, and most of my friends knew not to bring him up, and I assumed they did the same with Kevin in regards to me. If I knew he would be at a social gathering, I did not attend. I've been planning to move to a new city, for education/career purposes, since last year, and I've been scoping out places to live and employment opportunities for a while now. With help from a few friends I have in the area,